Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Pipes with Augustine. How y'all doing? It's been a while. I don't post very often on here, and that's fine. I said from the very beginning, when I started this channel, that this is a place that when I have something to say, when I have something I want to share, when I have somebody I want to interview, this is a place I have to do that. Today, I want to share with you briefly 3 different things. First of all, a new pipe that I have and some new tobacco. Second, some really exquisite poetry by Malcom Guite. And if you don't know who Malcom Guite is, you will in a little bit. And then thirdly, just briefly, my pipe smoking journey. A little bit about how I got into pipe smoking, and then what I plan on doing in my pipe smoking journey for the foreseeable future, and hopefully taking you along in that journey. So first of all, my new pipe, which is this one right here. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. It is a Savinelli Octavia 638. It's called Octavia because the bowl has 8 facets on it in the shape of an octagon. And so 8 on the bowl, 6 on the shank and stem. And it is very nice. It's probably... It is definitely the nicest pipe that I own now. I don't own very many, but this is really the first quality pipe that I have in my collection. Probably the next best one I have is an old K Woody, a straight billiard with an apple bowl. And I looked up the data on that, and it seems to come from 1936. This one I just bought recently as an estate pipe. Brand new, this would cost you about $150. I got it on an estate sale for $75. And as far as I can tell, it had never been smoked before. There was hardly any, if any, carbon inside at all. So I don't know that it was ever smoked, but so now I'm in the process of breaking it in. But it is very nice. I'm very happy with it. And what I happen to be smoking today is 7 Seas Regular Blend by McBaron. It's very nice. If you're not familiar with it, the smell of it, it reminds me a lot of like a German chocolate cake with maybe some cherry mixed in. But definitely, to me, like a strong German chocolate smell. Okay, now I want to get into the poetry of Malcom Guite. So if you don't know who Malcom Guite is, he is an Anglican priest, very Catholic in thought in a lot of ways, obviously not in all ways. But he's a avid pipe smoker and collector, but he's also an amazing poet. To me, he seems like kind of like a modern day David. In fact, he has written his own poetic versions of the Psalms, and he has a lot of other religious poetry, including poetry about Saint Benedict, Saint Clare, Saint Francis of Assisi, 5 different sonnets for the Blessed Virgin Mary, about Corpus Christi, etc. And they're just so incredible. The one I'm going to read for you today is not one of his religious ones. It's one of his just secular ones, but still absolutely fantastic. The style of his writing, his religious ones, to me seems like they remind me of the sequences in the liturgy. You know, so in the liturgy we have 5 of them. You know, the Dies Irae being one, which is sung after the gradual and Alleluia or tract during Mass. The Dies Irae for the Requiem Masses. the Veni Sancte Spiritus for Pentecost, Victime Pascali Laudes for Easter. His poetry just really reminds me of those, and it's like, man, I think his poetry needs to be set to chant or something. They're so beautiful. And if you look at him, he reminds me his looks with his long white hair and his big white bushy beard. He looks like a British version of Karl Marx, but as far as I know, nowhere, he's by no means a follower of Marx. He's very Orthodox and Catholic in mind, as far as I can tell. So I'll read for you his poem, Smoke Rings from My Pipe. So his little introduction to this poem, he says, I have been reading a collection of ballads by G.K. Chesterton, Hilaire Belloc, and their friends, and it prompted this more playful piece of light verse about the pleasures of smoking my pipe and composing verse in the quote-unquote temple of peace, my trysting place with the muse. I have slightly tweaked the ballad form by playing variations on the repeating line rather than simply repeating it verbatim. If you go on his website or on his YouTube channel, you can hear him reading this himself. Smoke rings from my pipe. All the long day's weariness is done. I'm free at last to do just as I will. Taking out my pipe, admire the setting sun, practice the art of simply sitting still. Thank God I have this briar bowl to fill. I leave the world with all its hopeless hype, its pleasures and its ever-ringing till, and let it go in smoke rings from my pipe. The hustle and the bustle, these I shun, the tasks that trouble and the cares that kill, the false idea that there's a race to run, the pushing of that weary stone uphill, the wretched iPhone's all-insistent trill. Wingers and whiners, each with their own gripe, I pack them in tobacco leaves until they're blown away in smoke rings from my pipe. And then at last my real work is begun, my chance to chant, to exercise the skill of summoning the muses one by one to meet me in their temple, touch my quill. I have a pen, but quills are better still. And when the soul is full, the time is ripe, kindle the fire of poetry that will breathe and expand like smoke rings from my pipe. Prince, I have done with grinding at the mill. These petty pelting tyrants aren't my type. So lift me up and set me on a hill, a free man blowing smoke rings from his pipe. Malcom Guite. This is some new tobacco, newly opened, so it's a bit wet and hard to keep lit. So, a little bit about my pipe journey, a little bit how I got into pipe smoking, how it was revived, and what I plan on doing in the future, moving forward. And I plan to take you along with me. How did I get into pipe smoking? By the way, if you're a pipe smoker or cigar smoker, let me know in the comments how you got into pipe smoking. What kind of pipes do you have, or was your favorite pipe, favorite tobacco? Let me know. By the way, I got some scotch here, some single malt scotch, some Speyburn, Speyside single malt. I'm a fan of scotch, and that is a very nice one at a very, very reasonable price. I got into pipe smoking. Pipes have always been in my life as far back as I can remember, and I think the earliest memory I have is of my great uncle on my father's side. He was a pipe smoker. My great uncle John, he had a pipe. And I always remember as a little kid him smoking that and just really admiring the beauty of the pipe itself, the artistry and craftsmanship that goes into producing these and their various different shapes and sizes. And I find they're just a real thing of beauty. And then, of course, the beautiful aroma of the pipe tobacco. And then I don't know if lifestyle is the right word, but pipe smoking, unlike cigarettes and even cigars, pipe smoking really calls you to kind of sit down, relax, quit the hustle and bustle, like Malcom Guite was saying. You know, everything in our world, kind of society and culture, there's this rat race, you know, like he says in there, just everything always has to be doing something, going on, and all the technology, these are great tools, but so often they're distractions for us, and we're so constantly bombarded by all these distractions that sometimes we just need to just sit down and relax and think and read and pray in silence, and the pipe helps us to do that. And because there's a process to it, you know, cleaning it, packing it, lighting it. It's a very contemplative thing, and it really invites one to slow down and think and read, pray, spend time with family and friends, rather than all this hustle and bustle. And so my Uncle John, I think, was probably the earliest influence I had. And a lot of people, you know, will associate pipe smoking with Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. And of course, the films really helped bring back a kind of resurgence in pipe smoking to a certain extent. But I, personally, I was never even aware. I knew nothing about the Lord of the Rings until the late 90s when the production of the films was announced. Before they were made, when they just announced that the production was going to happen, a friend of mine who was a fan of Lord of the Rings said, "Oh, they're going to turn Lord of the Rings into movies." And I said, "Well, what is Lord of the Rings?" And I never knew anything about Lord of the Rings until I saw the films, and then I started reading the books. So that was not an influence for me. The pipe smoking influence for me was my great uncle John, and then also the old films, the old black and white Sherlock Holmes films with Basil Rathbone. Those were an influence for me. And of course, the Disney version too of what was it, the Great Mouse Detective. I remember that. And then other film, you know, watching old films, Jimmy Stewart. I guess Cary Grant didn't really smoke a pipe too much, but Jimmy Stewart, Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy. What's the name of that one actor that played in To Kill a Mockingbird? I'm blanking on his name. He smoked a pipe. In all these old actors, you know, you see him smoking pipes a lot, and that was another influence for me. And then around 2001, 2002, my brother and I were traveling with a priest friend of ours, and we went to visit another priest. And he was a pipe smoker. And when we were visiting him, he had his collection of pipes, and he let my brother and I choose one. We each chose one, and he taught us how to clean it, how to pack it, how to light it, and all that. When we smoked the pipe, and I don't think he gave us the pipes to keep, but he taught us how to smoke a pipe, and that was another big influence too. But then I never really smoked pipe again until I moved here to North Idaho in 2012, and at our parish there's a men's smoking club, which was originally founded by Father Ripperger when he was our parish priest here. And so when I joined that, then I got back into pipe smoking again. And but it wasn't until more recently, in the last couple of years, that I really started to get more into it. And so now I'm starting to pick up some new pipes and tobaccos and whatnot. So that's kind of my history with pipe smoking. And now what I plan to do moving forward is I'm acquiring different tobaccos to test them out and see what different ones taste like, because that's something that's fairly new to me, is discovering the different types of pipe tobaccos. And I have a fairly small collection of pipes right now. So what I plan to do is, with each paycheck, I'm going to set some aside to purchase new pipes or tobacco. And not just any pipes. I mean, there's some pipes that I'll just see and I'll like and like, oh, I want to get that one. But something I've always been particularly interested in is getting pipes that are associated with specific characters, specific personas, whether they be real life or fictional characters. For example, getting a Gandalf pipe, in which case I'd want to get a pipe that is as close as possible to the one that Gandalf smoked in the films. Tolkien. What kind of pipes did Tolkien himself smoke? And maybe the exact kind he had might be too expensive, but I'd try to find something as close as possible to that. What kind of smoke pipe did General Patton smoke, and get something, as close as possible to that. Finding both real life and fictional characters. And Sherlock Holmes, there's another great one. Both, what did Sir Arthur Conan Doyle describe the pipes of Sherlock Holmes in the books, and then try to get a pipe that matches that description. But then also the pipes from the films, the early Basil Rathbone, what kind of pipes did he smoke in those? Pick out one of those ones. And then you got the later ones from the 80s, where you got the big calabash pipe, So finding pipes that match with certain specific characters, real life and fictional. And that's something I plan to do, is with some money that I set aside, build up my collection of pipes, both ones that I just find, personally interesting, as well as ones connected with certain personas, along with new tobaccos. And whenever I do get a new pipe, I'll share that with you, along with some material to read that is fitting for that particular pipe or tobacco that I get. So for instance, if I got a Gandalf pipe, I might share some reading from Lord of the Rings or whatnot. Anyway, that's what I plan on doing, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. But, I don't post on here that regularly, and I'm fine with that. Hopefully you are too. And if not, oh well, put that in your pipe and smoke it. There was a post I saw recently from Dr. Alan Harrelson of the Pipe Cottage. And he said something like, I've been criticized a lot for not posting more often on social media. And he said, I really don't care. I've got more important things in life than posting on social media. I want to use my time to spend my time with my family, with my pipes, with my God, reading books. He said, posting on social media should be the last concern for anyone, especially for content creators of social media. I agree. He says, if you don't have something to say, then be quiet. I agree. That's one reason why I don't post very often on here. One, just because I'm busy with my full-time job at the Gregorian Chant Academy. And when I'm not doing that, I'm busy with my family. But when I do have something to share, whether it be a solo thing like this or an interview, then I do share. and then I put it here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you happen to be smoking with me, what kind of pipe you're using, or cigar, what kind of pipe tobacco. Any recommendations you might have would be appreciated. So until next time, when I have another pipe or an interview, take care and God bless.